Hey everyone, welcome back to the Winner's Circle. I'm Derrick.
And I'm Cody. And before we get into the episode, I wanted to go over something with everybody that is tuning in. And it is the way to turn on your bell notifications because I was sitting with my accountant, shout out to Mike, and we're going through and he's like, I keep missing when you post the episodes. And I'm like, well, do you have notifications on? And he was 100% positive that he had them on. And he said, yes, my notifications are on. And I go, well, let me see our YouTube channel. And so you need to look up the Winner's Circle, and right next to where you can subscribe, there's a bell, and you click the bell, and you need to turn on all, not personalized or not none. If you want to not miss anything, you turn on all notifications for any videos that we post, and you don't even have to do it. Once you click all, it's going to let you know when our videos go up, when we go live. If anything gets posted to the Winner's Circle, you will be notified. And that is the best way to stay up to date because guess what? There's going to be a live coming and there's going to be a lot to talk about. So we are going to be hammering that. And if you don't have your notifications on, you're missing it. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. And I appreciate all of you that have already done it. But let's get into a great week in Big Brother Canada.
Great week in Big Brother Canada. And speaking of things to come, am I speaking too soon if I talk about our interview next week? I mean, it's pretty much locked in.
No, definitely not.
We have Chris Kattan coming on next week.
I am hyped, bro.
Hyped.
You and I have talked about this. We're just kids in a candy store when he gets on here.
Yeah, I'm super pumped about it. It's going to be a little, but obviously we're going to hit on Big Brother, Celebrity Big Brother, but we're also going to talk about him. I mean, the guy has had we were talking about this on the phone. He's had an incredible life. He's done some things that most of us will never get to do.
Right.
And he's been in some of my favorite movies, and I know yours as well.
Night at the Roxbury is like
literally, we're really pumped about it.
I just quote Night at the Roxbury still to this day, and it was crazy. I watched it back. I tried to get Christy into it when Big Brother, Celebrity Big Brother was on. Christy fell asleep, per usual. That's what she does when we put on movies.
Missing out. So that's even more of a reason you want to have notifications on. You want to be subscribed. You want to be subscribed to the audio because you never know when to drop something. We're constantly making moves. We're constantly evolving. We're not just bullshitting you guys when we say that. We really are trying to find our footing. So things like that are going to come up, and we hope you're joining us for the ride. But like you said, Big Brother Canada, few episodes. You guys know how we do it. We don't just encompass the eviction episode. We encompass all the stuff that led up to the eviction. There's basically, 2 episodes before the eviction episode. And this was a crazy week.
Yeah.
What's your, I always come to you first, just your macro outlook on this. I mean, without giving anything away, is this week not describe Big Brother in a nutshell? Like what can happen?
It was amazing. I loved who won the HOH because I was very eager because obviously when you see somebody that's on the outs and that is like notably talking about being on the outs and they win the HOH, it's always a shakeup and it's always something different in the game. And so I loved who won the HOH, which we can get right into it because it's one of the first things we saw. It was Jess. So Jess wins the HOH. And I was very excited to see how Jess was going to handle this. Yes. Was Jess going to be crazy and just blow up the entire house? Or was Jess going to try to be methodical and build relationships to really further Jess's game?
Yeah. And Jess was saying all along how the house was boring and there needed to be a shakeup. And so, like you said, it was going to be interesting to see what they did with their HOH so that going forward, they might be in a better position. And we get right into it because Jess started having conversations with people almost immediately. And
she was fired up.
Yeah, she was. And one of the conversations that I was drawn to was the conversation between Summer and Jess. Jess hit on the Madam Alliance, the sibling alliance. There was a couple things there. So that was something that was interesting because, Jess was clearly trying to keep the women in the house together, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Doesn't usually work out.
Summer was the one that was really the catalyst of that. She called them the Madams to send the
Madams,
man down. I think something like to like get the men out essentially.
Right. And being in a situation where you're just trying to stay off the block, that's a good move by Summer because, she's all for women empowerment and she happens to be a woman. So that would involve her not being on the block. Yeah. So that was one point to hit on. But then there was another conversation that didn't necessarily go anywhere, but it did cause some drama. And that was the conversation between Moose and Jess. And in that conversation, Moose basically says, like, if, because Jess asks him, hey, who do you think I should put up? And we're going to get to that whole strategy in a minute.
Yeah.
But Moose, who you have said multiple times, doesn't know how to shut up. He immediately throws out two names, and I believe he threw out Betty and Kevin.
Right.
And he's like, Betty and Kevin, because they haven't really done much, and I don't think they've earned the right to be here at this point or whatever. And so Jess takes that little kernel, that little nugget, stores it away, and immediately goes to Betty and starts telling her about that. Before you weigh in on that, because there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there.
I wanted to go back just one step before that, right? And it's the conversation between Herman and Jess. And this is something where I just talked about it with Moose. Herman is the opposite of that.
Right.
Jess asked Herman, who do you think I should put up?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what do you think I should do? And he's like, I'm not telling you anything.
Right. Well,
it's not good. It's not good for my game.
What I also think we need to preface this with is that this is where Jess had her blanket conversations. We're not going to touch on all of them. There's no point.
Right.
Then Jess goes to Moose and Herman and says, hey, I want to be straight up with you. You're going on the block. But just to comfort me, if you did win, who would you put up? And you see the polar opposites of the two. You see the two opposite ends of the spectrum. I take the Herman route, period. Yeah. Herman was a little more hostile, but she could have dialed down, but it's because Jess got hostile right away. Jess and Herman don't click, period.
No.
And if an HOH comes to you and says, hey, I'm going to put you on the block, but maybe I don't know if I'm going to put you on the block, which contradicts itself immediately. So tell me some names. Hey, Big Brother, future Big Brother players, don't tell them shit.
No.
Like,
no.
What? What are you
Especially
doing?
after they tell you you're going on the block.
Right? It's like, you just told me I'm going on the block and now you're fishing for names. Are you nuts? Herman handled it perfectly. He could have maybe been a little less hostile, but you know what? It lit a fire under his ass and he was ready to rock. Moose took the latter approach and tried to give names. And what did Jess do with that? Immediately ran to Betty.
And that's why I wanted to put it in. And because
Betty talked to Kevin first, because he got to Kevin, which was great. Kevin is like, dude, I got to tell you, I want to say this to you, Kevin. I definitely love you now. At first, and not to say that I didn't love you before, but I just thought you were like playing up this whole like, oh, I want to be an evil genius. But like, dude, you should have just went in and played the way that you're playing right now. You know, like I loved Kevin this whole week. Kevin this whole week was great.
He had a good week, and he's definitely showing that he's a player.
Yeah,
you know, he's someone who needs to be watched going forward. He can absolutely win this game. But yeah, just to button up what we were saying, Josh went the opposite route. Jess used it against him. Betty, who, in my opinion, is not a very good player, and the reason she's not a good player is because she's too emotional. She immediately runs downstairs and really with no reason at all starts blowing up on Moose. And this isn't an isolated incident, by the way. I want to just bring you guys back to the fact that this happened the exact same way with Kevin a few weeks earlier. Hey, Betty, if you want to win the game, you're going to need people to vote for you if you're ever on the block. If you want to win the game at the end, you're going to need jury votes. Blowing up on people and basically telling them, I don't want to talk to you. Like, that's the worst thing you can do in the Big Brother house. You always want to keep that line of communication open. So nothing personal, strictly game-wise, you're not a very good player. Maybe that'll change as we go forward, but you're not right now.
She's not. Betty is the bottom of the barrel of this season, because I'll tell you what, there are great players. And obviously I'm sick of saying, not to be personal, we don't talk personal. We don't know any of these people.
Yeah,
I'm done saying it. Anybody that wants to come for us in the comments, just be a keyboard warrior and we'll just hide you from the channel, because Betty is, I mean, from what I see, a good person. I don't know, but Betty is highly emotional. And what it also does is it now makes whoever told Betty about Kevin, I'm not telling Betty anything anymore. And you saw with Jess, Marty came upstairs and talked to Jess, and it made Jess be like, why did I say anything? Like, man, I got to keep my mouth shut, because when you tell somebody something and they run and blow up, it's like, you're indirectly hurting my game. So Betty, very poor player. And I mean, if you're offended by that, you're offended by that, but she's just not a very good player. There was a lot of stuff that I liked about Jess this week that I thought, ooh, I think she can really do stuff. Some of the conversations, but man, the one thing I didn't love about Jess's HOH this week was how to everybody that she had a conversation with, everybody, it was, give me some names, name some names.
Yeah.
That makes people feel uneasy. That's not like building trust. That's like, I'm in power, so tell me information. And guess what? You're not going to be in power in the next week. So that's the one thing I didn't love about Jess's HOH.
Jess comes off very strong.
Yeah.
I think it's just her personality. She's like, she's very like aggressive with her line of questioning, and that can pose problems in the Big Brother house. When people look at you as like, wow, you're kind of making me uncomfortable here, it could cause them to share less with you. But yeah, that was a point that I wanted to bring up. You know, I wrote down here Kevin running things, targeting Herman. You know, like he was making moves, he was doing his thing. There was a conversation, hasn't affected anything yet, but we've been giving Herman so much praise. There was a few things I didn't like about Herman in these last couple episodes, and we'll get into them. But the first thing that I really, really didn't like, and they kind of all do it, which I don't get it. I would definitely raise a flag for me. But there's a conversation happening between Moose and Herman about who they would pick for the veto. And like Gino's in there at one point or whatever. And Herman's like, hey, Gino, would you give us a minute? Before I say anything, what are you thinking if you're Gino? Hey, I'm not good enough. You don't trust me.
They don't want to talk freely in front of me.
Where am I on their totem pole?
Exactly. Well, and you know, not to fast forward, but Gino finds out very quickly where he is on everybody's totem pole.
That's it. And I mean, we had conversations where, you know, when I would be like, you and I would be in a room, or anybody that I was working with, but specifically you, we would be in a room together and we would be talking about whether we wanted to keep Frankie or something, or what we want to do with Caleb. And the minute Caleb walked in, I always would go like, oh, dude, so glad you were here. We're just talking about like, what do you want to do?
I have to say that one of the greatest things that I was like, I wrote it in my notes, which I think I tossed the notes, but I wrote a ton of notes that I wanted to go into the All-Star season with when I played the second time. And that was one of them. It was because I remembered that every time I'd be talking with you and anybody would enter, like, oh, perfect. Come on.
Yeah.
So
even if we were talking about them.
Yes. So that nobody felt like, oh, am I not on the in with them? I thought we were on the in with them. You're just a G, brother. You're amazing. But it was just one of those things where you don't ever want to make somebody feel like, wait, I'm on the outs with these two, obviously.
Or did I just walk in on something I wasn't supposed to hear? Any of that.
Or they don't trust me fully because they just booted me out to really talk.
Dude, that's the most awkward thing. Could you give us a minute to talk? Yeah, sure. No problem. Take all the time you need. Yeah, but going forward, that is something that I think Gino will remember. And he, as you said, he does. But we talk about Herman a lot and how great of a player he is. He has showed some chinks in his armor this week for me.
What did you think of how he like showboated and danced up when he was nominated?
He's becoming a little bit of like a Zach Rance to me, honestly. And that's not necessarily a bad thing if you want to be memorable. He's definitely memorable.
Yeah.
But he's making a little bit of a mockery about it. I think it was more directed towards Jess, but it does. Everyone else can see what you're doing.
Correct.
And they're all evaluating every little thing that you do in there, you know, positively and negatively. So I didn't love that. And I just wanted to bring it up because Herman's my pick to win, and things like that are not the signs of a great player, because you always want to be inclusive and make everyone feel like they're your number one and that they're part of the big alliance. They're in on whatever scheme's going on. And when you're telling someone specifically to their face, will you give us a couple minutes? And it's not clear what you're needing to talk about with them. It's not a personal thing. They're going to assume it's about them.
Right.
They're going to assume it's not about them in a good way either.
Correct.
So something to bring up. Well, we get to nominations.
Well, I wanted to ask you about something first.
Yeah,
and it's with the guy that I picked, because we're talking about Herman, and I picked Josh to win. And early on, before the HOH was even won, Josh was mentioning something like, I'm in the middle of the house, and I feel like I'm great with both sides, but I really want to win this HOH to draw a line in the sand. I was like, what do you, if that's where you find yourself positioned, is that the strategy that you would go forward with?
No. No.
Right. And the reason why it ties it in is because he says something again with the veto. And that's why I wanted to like tie it all back in. But it's like, right? Like, why would he say that?
No, I mean, Moose has moments of like really like clarity where it's like, I'm sorry, Josh where it's like, Josh has some moments where he impresses me. But then he has moments where I feel like he waffles way too much. He doesn't have a clear picture of what he wants to do. And sometimes I think it's game when I hear him talking to other people, like maybe he's just telling them what want to hear. But then when he gets in the DR like that and says that, you're like, well, wait, what are you doing? You're in a great spot right now. Just stop. Just stay where you are. There's no need to draw a line. There's still a lot of game to play.
I don't know. I think we saw a little bit of it because Kevin actually pulled it out of him a little bit. But I think, and I love Josh. I think he's in a good position. I don't know that he's got it in him to win the game because I think he plays with his heart and he doesn't play with his head. And you see that when he said that, I literally like shook. I was like, you just literally you just brought up how you are in a great position in the house and you want to win the HOH to draw a line in the sand. Hey, when you draw the line, who does everybody in the house remember? Not the votes. They remember the person that drew it. And so I was like, man, Josh, why did you say that? And then he followed up with another thing in the veto. And it was, and we could get into it because this is right where we are. The veto was happening. Players get picked. Right. And Josh is saying, Josh has got a final 2 with Herman on the block. Josh is, working with Jess. And this is a perfect scenario of I'm playing in the veto, I'm throwing the comp.
See ya.
I don't want to win. And Josh is saying, I want to win this because I'm going to keep the knobs the same and I'm going to show Jess. And I think I could spin it. I think I could settle it down with Herman, but I'm going to show Jess that I'm loyal. And it's like, Josh, dude, throw the comp. I wrote it in my notes in all caps. Josh, throw this comp. What are you trying to do here?
Nothing to gain
and
whatsoever.
So he's starting to I'm having knocks on him because I thought it was like, ooh, Josh could be good, man. He's in a good position in the middle. But I think his middle positioning is really because he's likable, not because he's a great player. I mean,
you could like him as a person.
I like him as a person. I don't have to say no offense.
Yeah. And I mean, it's the same thing. And we I don't know if we mentioned it or not, but Moose and Herman were nominated by Jess. And we knocked Jess a lot for her communication skills, her ability to get in with other people. But Jess did a good job with her noms, I thought. She was trying to switch up the house. And I felt like those noms were good noms for the game that she's trying to play. Mm-hmm. And so going into the
what do we always say? Like, if there's 2 people you want out, you don't leave one off, put one on. You put them both on, and then you guarantee one staying on. So that's why I did like that she did. It was like, you've been hit. My name's been in your mouth. You literally nominated me, and I heard your name was in my mouth. Both of you are going up. It's like that's as game as it gets.
Yeah,
like roll with it.
I thought it was good.
Yeah,
I thought it was good. I had no complaints. She had been saying the house was boring,
right?
And she played it out the way she's supposed to play it out. She went with the people that she felt she's not going to work with in the future. So, get through the veto. Herman wins it. Another thing I didn't like about Herman.
I know, bro. Thank you.
It was such poor sportsmanship on his part. And listen, I know this isn't like an athletic, this isn't like the NFL, but there's a few things you can look at. One, dude, you won a competition where you're stacking things on a pole. It's not like it's not that difficult.
It was a lot. There was, and honestly, you were in such a big lead. Josh should have won it. You blew it. He was ahead of you by like 4 items, and you were on there stacking stuff.
And to win and be pumped up, that's one thing. Mm-hmm. To go over to Jess and shake her hand and like basically you were being an asshole. Let's be honest.
Because he was saying thank you for nominating me and letting me play to win. Yeah, in your face. It's like
dude, with grace. Relax. But not only did I think that was wrong to do that to Jess, I did not like it at all.
Yeah.
But again, to go back to what I just said when you brought up about the dancing, you look like an asshole to the rest of the house.
Right.
So if you don't think that they're noting like, wow, like even people that like you, most of them would be like, wow, you look like a douche doing that. Like I mean, you're a real tough guy going up to Jess, who's basically on an island and
she
telling
can't
her
compete. What are we doing here, bro?
Relax, buddy, relax. And I really didn't like it. It pissed me off. And
I agree with you 100%.
And bro. Don't think that
and
for
we
a second.
love Herman, right? We love
Herman, but just on the other end of the spectrum, we can like someone and think they're gonna win and still call them out for.
But that's not only something that could hurt him, right?
I think it will. I think a lot of people are going to start being turned off by him. Even you saw Helena later this week where she was rolling her eyes. I mean, he's being kind of goofy. He's being
being extra.
He definitely has a temper. He has trouble. He did the same thing with Kyle. He's out in the, I'm starting to see this as like a pattern.
Yes, you're right. You're 100% right.
He has trouble keeping his emotions in check. And right now he's doing it to the camera, which is great. But I feel like he's going to trip up. And I do not feel as good. I can't change my pick, but I do not feel as good because the right way to do it is to win, be pumped up for yourself, celebrate, go crazy. But don't run over to Jess and shake her hand.
I don't like that at all. I agree with you 100%.
What would you do if someone did that to you after you nominated? I'd be like, I would tell him
no shot. I would say, like, Jess was like trying to wrap her head around. She was
confused.
Jess is saying thank you for the $5,000? Like, I don't understand it. And it's
She
like,
honestly didn't know.
she didn't,
But
because it was, bro, it was a lot. It was so extra. To
he
be
was being a
honest,
jerk.
bro,
It wasn't about the 5Gs. He
that
didn't even
happens
know
to
about
me.
the 5Gs.
That happens to me, and somebody runs up to me to say thank you. I just nominated him. I'm like, get the fuck out of my face.
I'll be like,
Are you nuts?
I'll be like, beat me next week.
Yeah.
Beat me next week.
Like, I don't care that I have to
about it.
compete. But again, you and I are going to probably be in different situations. And Jess is, I feel it's horrible because Jess has been trying, and Jess is a super fan. And
Yes.
I wanted it so bad for Jess to just, do well. And it always is the super fans that feel like they let everybody down. They're like, man, I wanted to do it for all the super fans, but the super fans get so caught up in thinking they know the game at its core because they watch it and not really knowing it when they play it. It sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. So Herman wins. Obviously, he uses the veto on himself, gives kind of, again, a goofy speech.
Dancing.
This is where it gets interesting. And that's the thing that Helena brought up, like his dancing during the veto. He's probably, when you're in that house, you get irritable and little things bother you.
Bro.
People are going to start getting irritated by Herman. You're
100% correct.
They're going to be like, all right, dude, like, relax. You can't dance.
We've been around each other for X amount of days, like every hour of every day. Like, dude, you're driving me absolutely insane. Stop.
Yeah. I remember at one point when we were playing, Caleb got like aggravated one day with me, and he was like, man, you smack your lips every time you eat. And I was like, dude, you just ate the mayonnaise out of the jar. Like, we were just pissed at each other.
You said something. I remember I was sitting right there. He was making tuna and bringing the knife or this fork that he's mixing the tuna with back into the mayonnaise that's going back into the fridge. And you were like, bro, you just put the fork you're using to mix the mayo back into the mayonnaise jar that all of us use.
Yeah, back
and
in
you
the
like
tuna.
shut him up quick, because I was like, ew. Because then I jumped on. I was like, ew, bro, that was disgusting.
Yeah, he's like, you're smacking your lip, but that's, me and Caleb liked each other. But when you're in there a while, the little things.
Dude, what about Zach and me? Remember, you were there, and you had to be like, yo, chill out, dude.
Nobody saw that. I don't know if it made the feeds or whatever. I
think it made the feeds.
But like little inside info. I don't know if we've ever like talked about it, but like we're at the pool table. I was the only one there. I don't know how this didn't make the feeds. If it did, way down in the comments.
They must have not been watching, bro, because I don't know how I didn't get called into the DR.
They didn't break it up. Dude, these two were playing pool, Zach and Cody. And I don't remember the exact context of the conversation.
I can't remember it either at all.
You guys were jawing at each other. And it started getting serious where I could tell that it was starting to get personal. And all of a sudden, I don't know how it got there, but you turned around, like you put the pool stick down, he jumped off the table, or you went up to him.
I was sitting behind him. You two were playing. And he went to shoot, and I kicked him in his ass and sent him onto the table. What it was. And then I kicked him, and then I jumped down, and as he turned around, I'm like smacking his face. And I'm like, what, bro?
They were touching noses, and you went like this. I'll never forget it. You like rubbed his, like, I don't know what that was. It was like a move, but like you like flicked his nose with your nose. That's how close you were, and you guys were ready to throw. Did I break it up?
I think you were like, bro, chill. Like, yo, and I really came to the realization of like, what am I doing?
I was like, you guys were about to throw. The game. You guys were about to throw. You were about to throw. I don't think he was, but I was like, dude, what the hell? But that actually happened.
I got so angry either.
It was a second away from being an eviction for someone.
Yeah, me, not him. He didn't do anything.
No, he would have let you hit him just to get you out.
100%. He might have been going for that, which makes me feel less about it. But I don't know. I love Zach, so it doesn't really matter.
You guys were over in about 10 minutes.
Yeah,
you guys were. But that's a little thing that nobody. I was so surprised nobody ever talked about and didn't make the show. But I honestly think producers
to your
were sleeping.
Point, the irritability that happens in the house from being around people 24/7 and seeing little nuances that would never bother you in the real world, but you see it over and over and over and over. And then maybe you just have a bad day, and that day it bothers you.
It fires you off, man, and you're gone. And so, yeah, Herman, be careful, bud, because you're definitely on a slippery slope right now. So he takes himself off the block. This is where it gets interesting for Jess, because she has a big decision to make. 2 targets on the block that you wanted to be there. Now you're forced to put someone else up. And she's been making a lot of deals, making a lot of promises. Jess decides to put up Tanisha. What did you think about that?
Oh, man. Bad decision. I understand. So what I want everybody to really understand as an outside perspective, it's easy to say, oh, bad decision, because look what happened for Jess. But the reason why in the moment I was like, Jess, please don't put up Tanisha, was because she has an alliance with them, with the madams. And once you put up somebody, you show to everybody what's going on. Jess knew that. what I think Jess was weighing in more was Kevin's my number one. And Kevin doesn't want me putting up Helena. And so I don't want to ruin my relationship with Kevin. Who would I rather ruin my relationship with? Kevin or Tanisha? But it really wasn't just Tanisha. It was you just blew up your relationship with Summer. You blew up your relationship with Betty. Like Betty was pissed, an emotional person, because you knew about Betty being pissed when she voted, not on this eviction, on the next one. And it was like you made a very, it was a miscalculation on Jess's part. And it was probably because Kevin is who she trusted the most. And so he weighed in on her the most, or Jess the most. And it was just the wrong decision. It was a wrong decision.
You always got to think about collateral damage, right? When you put up Tanisha, you lose her and you lose Summer and potentially Betty. I feel like Betty is friends with Tanisha and Summer, but they weren't as close. So,
but she's still probably closer with them than anybody else.
Correct. But I probably would have leaned towards Betty over anyone else, because even with Helena.
You're saying you would have went Betty.
I would have went Betty, because here's the other pillar of deciding who you put up. Is Betty gonna beat you? I don't think so. She hasn't proven to me she's gonna beat me. So I'm not worried about her winning. I feel like Tanisha's a way better competitor. I wouldn't have put her up. And I wouldn't have put up Summer, because Summer, again, is liked by everyone. She's kind of the cog that's holding that whole machine together. She's running the machine. Maybe Helena, but she's so close with Kevin. I understand why she didn't. And Helena really is kind of like an outside vote that nobody has, that you now have if you keep her off the block. Where Betty has pissed so many people off.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like, it's still going to cause problems. She's still going to be mad at you. But you know what? Add me to the list of people she's mad at. And the reason why that's important is if Betty wins HOH, she now has Jess. She's got Moose. She's got Kevin. She's got a bunch of people that she's already like fired up about. So maybe she misses you. Maybe she doesn't even fire at you because she's got other, bigger fish to fry.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't have put up Tanisha. I don't think it was a good move. I think that was the downfall to Jess's game. I really do.
The big problem was that Jess really didn't know who else to put up. And I know Jess probably didn't want to affect her relationship with Kevin, because Kevin, which we didn't see on the live show, Kevin probably had a conversation with Jess saying, I have a great relationship with Helena. It's known that I have a good relationship with you. Helena will know that I probably had an idea. I'm not going to be able to play it off to her. This may be a conversation that was on the feeds, or maybe this might have been how Jess was thinking through it. It was just Helena wasn't the right one. So I agree. I didn't even think of it. I think between Tanisha and Helena, it should have been Helena. But I think overall, I didn't even think of what you just said. You are 1,000,000% correct. It should have been Betty.
I would have went after Betty. I know I know Jess is cool with Betty, but I would have said, listen, I got to put you up. I got to put you up, and not told her the real reasons, but I would have put Betty up.
You could be pissed at me, but guarantee Moose is going to go home over you. It would have been a guarantee.
That's the other thing, right? That's the other thing. By putting Betty up, she's a pawn. Nobody's threatened by her.
Right.
Moose is going home. Tanisha's a player.
Yeah.
Tanisha's a player with a big personality. She's someone you could get out and need to get out. And Moose is a good talker, so it's kind of a coin flip.
He is a great talker.
He's a great talker. He knows what he's doing. Which, speaking of coin flip, it brings us to the vote, the eviction, and it's a 5-4 vote.
Well, what about the conversation between Kevin and Josh? I think this is really where it was like Kevin, I was like, dude, this guy has got it. So when he talked to Josh about, hey, I want to just keep you in line, because he builds a relationship and a trust with Josh by saying, hey, this is how it's going to go. I know that you're going to vote, but you can stay voting that way, but I'm going to make sure I have the numbers to send her home. Would you be okay with that? I don't want to backstab you. And he brought it to Josh's attention, and Josh was like, great. Kevin was so incredible in every episode this week. He was brilliant. He was
on his game.
He was brilliant.
He was on his game.
So now we get to, I just wanted to say that because, man,
it's important because
he was great.
Again, managing damage control after the vote, right? Knowing that even though you and Josh voted differently, you're still on the same page. Brilliant. Good move.
Even the conversation with Moose, like Moose came to him and was like, I want to say this. Jess made me say a name. I said your name. I was not really thinking you. I would obviously just go after her. I didn't know what to do. Kevin could have done one of two things. Dude, why would you say, be pissed? Kevin goes, hey, no problem, man. Thank you for telling me. Dude, every time I saw Kevin on screen, I was like, dude, this guy is just, I love him right now. I'm loving him. He may bother me next week, but I'm loving him right now.
He was on point, and you know what? Kevin got what he wanted. Because
That's right,
by a
he did.
5-4 vote, Tanisha went home. The votes pretty much kind of fell, I think, the way we thought they were going to fall.
Mhm.
The only one I was a little surprised by was Herman. I don't know if there's something in the feeds, but Herman voted to evict Moose.
Mm.
Yeah, he
He
voted
did.
to evict. Yeah,
Maybe him, Herman. I think what we just also aren't seeing, and they're not really making it a big thing on the show, is Herman, Tanisha, and Summer are like this.
yeah, that's true too. They are close. They are in an alliance together. They are close, and
And you
Herman
always
has
see
said that.
conversations with Herman, Tanisha, Summer, Herman, Summer. I see that more than I see conversations Herman and Moose.
Yeah, because basically Tanisha had the votes to go home. She needed one more vote to go home, and it was Herman. And I was like, oh, it's a done deal. He's keeping Josh because he said he mended things with Josh, and then Herman voted to keep
Moose.
Tanisha
Yeah.
and voted out
Yeah.
Moose.
You remember Moose, yeah.
So she goes home 5-4. Good player. Didn't really get a chance to see her in control.
Yeah.
She was kind of middle of the pack for right now, which is a good place to be. But when you're not at the top of anyone's list, you can be put up as a pawn. And as we know, anyone who knows Big Brother knows that pawns do go home. And, it's just a matter of time. Sometimes it's sooner than later. For Tanisha, it was sooner. But let's get right into it because we're already about a half hour into this episode.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to stop. We're going to keep it right going. We get to the next week. And from that, we have a little bit of a different situation.
For the double eviction.
There's a double eviction. They're not calling it that. It's basically like the Manwan thing from last week. It's the chain of safety that, we had the Manwan thing on Celebrity Big Brother where you could save the next person. But anyways,
they took it.
Yeah.
But it was an awesome way to do an eviction.
It was cool. And it exposes people so much because you have an option between people to choose who you want to stay, and it's in public. There's no way around it. It's awesome. So they call it the chain of safety. And they have a quick competition to start it off, and Josh wins the competition. So Moose wins the competition. Moose wins the competition, and he goes from being in a position where he could potentially go home to now he's safe for another week. And he also, when he wins it, he's shouting at the camera, "You trying to send me home? I ain't
Jess
going
is still
nowhere."
in the house.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad as Herman's, but still, it's like. It's not like I don't like you being passionate, but when you're trying to win and you're basically talking to the other players that are going to vote for you in the end, not the best move. Go ahead. What are you going to say?
So we were good at never doing that, except for 1 week on Big Brother 16.
And I'm so embarrassed by it. I'm so embarrassed by it.
We went berserk like we won the World Cup. Well,
that was because, and not saying it's a good thing, but to be fair, that was much later in the game.
Yeah.
And I knew at that point, it was basically checkmate. I felt like it was checkmate. I mean, because the biggest barrier for us was the fact that Nicole got brought back and potentially
Donnie
they could flip the whole house.
Yeah.
If Donnie or Nicole win that HOH, it's a completely different outcome, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They still would have to win a couple weeks in a row to completely sway it, but you put me and you on the block or whatever. And
it would have been you and me, 100%.
Right. And so what are we talking about? It changes everything. So I knew it was a huge week.
We went nuts.
Yeah, I went berserk. I mean, I'm calling out your parents.
Caleb picked me up.
Yeah, no, we went berserk because we knew how important it was.
Correct.
We knew how important it was.
Correct.
But at least we're being consistent. That was the 1 week we did it, and I'm still to this day.
You bring it up all.
I won.
Yeah,
I'm mortified by it. I see it on TV. I cringe every time. It was horrible.
Yeah. Anyway,
but we get to the competition. Moose wins it. He now has to pick someone to save. He can only save one person, and he decides to pick Josh.
Herman.
Well, Josh picked Herman?
No, Herman picked Josh. It went Moose.
You know what? I keep calling Josh.
No, you keep calling Josh Moose. You're flipping Josh and Moose, and now it's throwing you all off.
Yeah, I'm all off here. So this is
Moose picks it, and how the chain of command works. I mean, I don't think we really need to explain it. You pick one, it keeps going down the line.
Yes.
So there's 3 people unpicked. Those 3 people have to compete.
Right,
and so Moose picks Herman, which was a good pick because we just sat on the block next to each other. So I pick Herman. Herman picks Josh, and it just keeps going. The only one I was confused about, Josh picked Betty. I was like, what was that?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that was. But it goes back to what you were saying earlier. Like, Josh is a hard book to read, man. He really is.
And I picked him to win. Let's see what happens.
Josh is so he picks Betty. Betty picks Summer.
Mm-hmm.
Summer picks Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
This is an interesting one. And
this is where Kevin was like, I'm in trouble. I could pick Jess. I could pick Helena. My two final twos. I have a final two with Marty.
This is
Exposed.
where this type of competition, this little game exposes people like Marty who are making multiple final twos and trying to really, he's doing a good job at balancing relationships behind closed doors. But now it's like your three people, unfortunately, have not been picked by anyone yet. And you have the ability to save one of them. And so I'm like, man, who's he going to go with? And I think he made the right choice because so far competitively, Marty has been proven to, be the most successful and could potentially save him if he needs it. So he picks Marty, but you could see Jess's face and Jess was like, oh, okay, that's not good.
I'm in trouble.
I'm in trouble here.
No one else Marty picks me.
Marty picks Helena.
Marty picks Helena, and then it left Gino, Jace, and Jessica.
Jess, and they're in a competition. They have their quick competition. It was kind of just something rapid fire. They had to do it.
I love the comp. It was focused,
cool.
But be with speed. I loved it. I thought it was super cool. Well done, Big Brother Canada's competition producer.
BB's comps are good. BB's comps are and that's a big thing, by the way. Always on Twitter and stuff, people say BB Can comps are above and beyond better than BBUS.
Can I say?
But Heath is my guy though. He's not on the show anymore. He's taking some time
Heath,
off.
Dog.
He's my guy. I loved our competitions. I'm biased, but I thought we had some good ones.
Hey guys, it's Heath.
Hey guys,
that brings you back. Did I just bring you back right there?
Oh yeah, I missed it. I missed that aspect of it.
Yeah, bro. Crazy.
So they play in the competition. Jacey-Lynne wins. So she decides she's safe.
She's safe. That's it. Gino and Jess are now on the block.
Gino and Jess are on the block.
And now we vote.
And this all goes back to what we were just talking about with Jess and her decision, because now she's in a position where before putting up Tanisha, Jess had Tanisha in Summer, I believe.
I agree with you.
I believe she did. And I think she might have still had them if she had put up Betty. I don't know for certain. But there was a conversation during the show that showed Tanisha, Summer, and Jess talking, and they said, if you put us up, we're going to hold it against you.
Yeah, and that's where... And
Betty was not part of that conversation.
Betty was not, but also they were trying to get Helena up. Jess decides not to put her up, and I think a lot of the things snowballed to be the downfall of Jess, why she didn't get picked by anybody. She just kept a bunch of people safe, and no one picked her. No one picked her. It just shows how you didn't run a great HOH week. You really didn't build any good relationships through that HOH week. And so you're in the situation that you're in now.
And this goes back to what we've been preaching this entire time. We always talk about it. We were saying it in the beginning when Jess was having these conversations that may not necessarily be important in the grand scheme of things, but they mean something when that person has to vote. And you saw the joy in Herman and Moose's faces when they got to go, and even Betty. And Betty,
this is for my girl Tanisha.
But Betty, people are going to think I'm coming hard at Betty, but Betty gets mad about everything.
Yeah,
I mean, does. Betty, it takes everything personal.
I don't know how you're coming at her. That's just a fact. If you have eyes and you're watching, it's a fact.
She takes everything personal. So you're going to piss Betty off either way. You steal her, you eat her one of her cookies. She doesn't want to talk to you ever again in a game that is all about social and talking to people. But Jess really saw the fruits of her conversations come to life when she's pissed a lot of people off. She's turned a lot of people off. And now those same people who she didn't really care for and they didn't really care for her have an opportunity to control her fate in the game. And they did that. It was pretty unanimous too, 7-2 against Gino.
I wanted to ask you about, there was a couple people that I thought were brilliant. Again, Kevin is just on. Kevin did not want to vote Gino to stay. Kevin did not want to vote Jess out, but Kevin knew where the vote was going. So Kevin made a game choice. Great. This is the one thing I did like about Josh. Josh did not want to vote Jess out over Gino. Josh made a game choice. Didn't want to be on the other side of it. Marty. I thought Marty seemed torn about it and then still voted to send Gino home. I was like, why would you do that?
He screwed up.
Right? Betty, or no, Helena just showed how clueless. Helena's lost. She doesn't know what's going on in the game. But Marty did. Marty does. And so I was confused by that. I was like, why did he do that? Why do you think he did that?
I honestly don't know. He was torn, and it was like a last minute decision where he was like looking down, and then finally he's like, I want to keep Jess, so I'm just gonna go with that.
Yeah.
I think he felt like Gino. I don't think he feels like their relationship is fully repaired, and so he takes another shot at Gino.
Yeah, it's not good.
And it's not good, and so Jess goes home 7-2. Final thoughts on Jess, pretty simple. I believe that Jess was being, for the most part, the person that, Jess is in the outside world. And sometimes the personality that you are in the outside world naturally does not go well in a house like Big Brother, where social game is the main premise of being successful. And I think she tried. I believe she's a super fan 100%, but it just goes to show you that you can watch the show and you can have all the right moves in your head as you're watching, but when you get in there and you're stuck in the house with these people 24/7, and you have to swallow your pride and wipe your feelings off of your face, which you could always tell what Jess was thinking just by looking at her. It really didn't bode well for her, and we've called it from day one. I think she's someone who will continue to watch the show, going to be a huge fan. Hope that Jess enjoyed her experience there, but this is not the game for her. It's just not the game for her
to play. I mean, I have nothing to add. You hit every point, and so I don't need to really pile on, but congratulations to Jess. As a super fan, these super fans are dying to play this game, and Jess was able to do it, which is going to be something, whether they want it or not, that Jess holds in her heart for the rest of her life.
I agree.
Congratulations.
I agree. And so we do get a little bit at the end. Did you see the post, like after the eviction, there was a little bit of conversation with Marty and Kevin and Gino?
I also think I saw a spoiler on who won the HOH.
Well, we'll do that in a second because I don't know who won. I want to know now.
Well, I don't want to say if I was wrong because I think I do know who won, but I think I might be right.
But
I saw Kevin it on one of the spoiler things.
Kevin and Marty are doing damage control with Gino immediately because Kevin knows that the vote's going to look like it was him who voted against him because he's so close with Jess. And Marty did actually vote against Gino. But Marty, that stand-up dude that he is, he lies to Gino to his face. Then when Gino leaves the room, Marty says, "Did you vote out Gino?" And he's like, "No, I couldn't backstab him twice." So he realizes he screwed up. And Marty...
Oh, because Kevin said I couldn't backstab him twice.
No, Marty said I couldn't backstab him. So
Marty lied to Kevin?
Yes.
I don't know. I must have cut it off, or maybe I just didn't notice it.
He's like, so Marty and Kevin are in there with Gino, and Marty says, "Hey, we voted to keep you. Someone's going to try to turn this on us and say that we voted, to vote you out."
Okay, not bad. Damage control.
And so Gino walks out, and Marty goes, "Hey, come here for a quick second, Kevin." Kevin's like, "I voted to keep him. I knew Jess didn't have the votes or whatever." And he's like, "You voted to keep him too, right?" And he's like, Yeah. I couldn't burn him again. I couldn't turn my back on him again.
I think good play. Keep that close to the chest. Don't tell anybody.
Don't tell anyone.
Don't tell a soul.
Nope. Don't tell a soul. But my point is, Marty, who's like, everyone comes in this game, they want to be stand up.
You can't, man. If you want to win the game, you cannot be a stand up. This is a game. And I understand there's aspects of it. And I always say this, I said it because I was not going to make a decision based off of money, but that was to the person that I was most loyal to. Everybody else, I was lying back. Like, I didn't care to lie to anybody, but to the person that meant the most to me, I wasn't willing to change that character for the money. So, You got to do it, dude. Like, come on, Marty. And I like this. I like he's doing it. He's doing it. The lion's coming. How you doing? I like it, Marty. Let's go get that dub.
Any other thoughts before? Because I want to hear who you think won HOH or who you heard.
All right, cut it now.
Cut it. Spoilers. If you're already,
it's only going to be another 10 seconds.
Another 10 seconds. All right. So who is it? Marty wins. He needed
Apparently it said Marty's the next HOH. I saw it on BB, not the BB updates. It was another one, man, and they follow me out. So I want to shout him out. This is how I want to go in and I want to shout him out.
And while you're looking that up, this is why it was so smart and I didn't know who won, but this is why it was smart.
BB Can 10 live feed updates.
Hopefully they're right.
It's at BB Live Updaters. That's who I saw it.
Okay, so check them out. Shout out to them. And Kevin, who picked Marty to be safe. Do you think Marty's going to put Kevin up now? After Kevin just picked Marty over everyone else in the house?
No.
And said, "Marty, I'm saving you."
But Kevin and Marty are super tight though, too.
But what if Kevin had picked Jess? What if Kevin had picked
You
Elena?
see how the game just works sometimes, and it's beautiful. And not to fast forward a lot of it, but you see stuff kind of fall in Kevin's way. And these are those little things. You make the decision, you're like, whoo, what a choice I just made.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's working out for Kevin. His game's starting to come along. And
this will be a fun week, I think.
Yes, there's going to be some shots fired. It's going to be interesting if Marty is HOH, which, it looks like he is.
Yeah, he definitely is.
Does he go after Gino again? He told him
he
never would.
And he told him he never would. But to the house, does he have to nominate him? But you know why I think it would be great for Marty to nominate him? Because every single week, a nominee wins the veto. So nominate people that you don't want out, Marty, please.
Yeah.
So that the person that wins the veto, you take down and then put somebody else up that is your target. Please, Marty, please. Because I like Marty a lot.
If I had to guess, I'm saying Marty puts up Betty, and he put
her up the last time, right? And she got all pissy with him.
Yep.
Okay.
He puts up Betty, and I think he puts up I want to say Jacey-Lynne.
So you think he keeps Gino off?
That's his hey, I promise you I was going to keep you safe, but I can't keep everyone safe. And I think Gino would be like, hey, man, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And then if Jacey-Lynne takes herself off, if Jacey-Lynne wins, Marty takes a shot at Gino again, puts him back on.
Because then it's guaranteed. It's
then
a call. I think that would be a great call.
Then it's Gino against Betty.
I don't know that his brain is working like how yours does, though. No, that's not, and I don't mean that in a way like you are literally one of the best players to ever play, if not the best player to play Big Brother. I don't know that Marty is there.
I think, but I mean, he's got to.
He can be, maybe he proves me wrong. Maybe he does.
So that's my pick. That's my pick of what he does. Any final thoughts?
And the reason why I said one of is because I think I'm better than you.
You do got to. You get
something in my
stats.
throat. I'm just lying.
Any final thoughts?
Nah, brother. That's it. Take us out of here.
Guys, as always, we appreciate the love and support. Thank you for joining us here on the Winner's Circle. Make sure you tune in. Chris Kattan coming up very soon. That'll be the next episode that comes out. So make sure, like, comment, subscribe. Way down in the comments below. What'd you think of this week? Was it as great as we thought it was? Let us know. Appreciate you guys joining us here on the Winner's Circle. We will see you next week.